This is Unit 2, Lesson 3, Introduction to Plants. This begins on page 106 in your text. The essential question for this lesson are, what are plants? By the end of this lesson, you should be able to list the characteristics that all plants share and explain how plants are classified into major plant divisions. So what are characteristics of plants? On page 108 in your text. All plants are multicellular, which means their bodies are made up of more than one cell. Plants are eukaryotes, which means their cells contain membrane-bound organelles, including a nucleus with the cell's DNA. All plants have a life cycle made up of two stages, a sporophyte and a gametophyte. In the sporophyte stage, plants make spores that are genetically identical to the parent plant. In the gametophyte stage, plants produce gametes. Female gametes produce eggs, and male gametophytes produce sperm. Eggs and sperm are sex cells. For a new plant to be produced, a sperm cell must fuse or fertilize an egg. This is called sexual reproduction. The fertilized egg can grow into a sporophyte, and the cycle can begin again. Plant cells are surrounded by a rigid cell wall that lies outside the cell membrane. The cell wall supports and protects the plant cell. A cell wall determines the size and shape of the plant cell. A carbohydrate called cellulose is the main component of plant cell walls. The strength of a cell wall helps plants stand upright. Secondary cell walls form in some plant cells after the cells mature. These secondary cell walls give wood its strength. Inside a plant cell is a large central vacuole, a membrane-bound organelle that stores water and helps to keep the plant upright. If the vacuole loses water, the plant begins to wilt. Almost all plants are producers. Producers make their own food, or glucose, by using energy from their surroundings. The process that the plants and other organisms use to convert solar energy to chemical energy is called photosynthesis. In plants, photosynthesis occurs in an organelle called a chloroplast. Chloroplast contains special pigments called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green pigment that captures energy from the sunlight. Chloroplasts use this energy, along with carbon dioxide excreted by humans and other animals, and water in the atmosphere, to make food or glucose in the form of sugar called glucose. So identify the parts of the plant cell. We have our cell wall here, our cell membrane here, our large central vacuole, and then we have our chloroplast here. This is, of course, the Golgi apparatus, and then we have our nucleus here. So what are the two main groups of plants on page 110 in your text? Plants can be grouped into two categories, non-vascular and vascular. A vascular system has tube-like tissues that transport water, nutrients, and other materials from one part of an organism to another. Non-vascular plants do not have a vascular system. Mosses and their relatives, such as liverworts and hornworts, are non-vascular plants. In non-vascular plants, water moves from the environment and through the plant by diffusion. Non-vascular plants are fairly small because cells of the plant that are far from the ground do not get enough water. Vascular plants have a vascular system that transports water and nutrients throughout the plant's body. The vascular system allows these plants to grow large and still move water and materials effectively. The body of a vascular plant is divided into two systems, the root system and the shoot system. The root system is made up of roots and other underground structures. The above-ground structures, such as stems, leaves, and flowers, make up the shoot system. The three major organs of vascular plants are roots, stems, and leaves. Vascular tissue transports water and materials between the roots and the shoots. How are seedless non-vascular plants classified? On page 112 in your text. Mosses grow on moist soil or rocks and have leafy stalks and rhizoids. A rhizoid is a non-vascular root-like structure that helps mosses attach to surfaces and helps plant get water and nutrients. Liverworts and hornworts are small non-vascular plants that can be leafy and moss-like or broad and flattened, but the rhizoids hold them in place. So how are seedless vascular plants classified? Page 113 in your text. Ferns have roots and rhizomes that help them spread. Rhizomes are underground stems from which new leaves and roots grow. Ferns have leaves, called fronds, on stems that uncurl as they grow. Whisk ferns have rhizoids instead of roots. Instead of leaves, they have small growths that look like buttons. Horsetails have cane-like stems that are hollow and contain silica, which gives them a gritty, rough texture. Club mosses have vascular tissue, roots, stems, and tiny leaves. They grow in woodlands and near streams and marshes. So how are seed plants classified? On page 114 in your text. Seed plants are vascular plants that reproduce by making seeds. A seed is a plant embryo enclosed in a protective coating. Seed plants produce pollen, a tiny structure in which sperm forms. The sperm cell fertilizes an egg cell which develops into an embryo inside the seed. Seed plants are classified based on whether or not their seeds are enclosed in a fruit. Gymnosperms are plants that produce seeds that are not enclosed in a fruit. This includes cycads, ginkgos, and conifers. Cycads produce seeds in large woody structures called cones that grow in a thick trunk. Ginkgos produce round grape-like seeds not covered by a cone. Conifers, such as pine trees, also produce cones. Angiosperms are vascular plants that produce flowers and fruits that surround and protect the seeds. Flowers are reproductive structures of angiosperms. Sepals cover and protect the flower while it's budding. Petals attract the pollinators. The stamen is the male reproductive structure. The stamen is made up of an anther, which produces pollen attached to a filament. The pistil is the female reproductive structure. The seed develops in the ovary at the base of the pistil. The ovary matures into a fruit covering the seed. So pharmaceuticals and plants. I'm on page 117 in your text. Many modern medicines are derived from chemicals found in plants. Tropical rainforests are a source of many potential medicinal plants. The white willow's tree bark is a compound of psilocin that led to the development of aspirin. Foxglove is a flowering plant that produces compounds used to make medicine for the heart.